Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Real people on real journeys.
And honestly, though, the community is what kept me going.
The shift in mindset. I'm more mindful than I ever had been.
One day at a time for all of us, right?
Welcome to Real People, Real Journeys. My guest today, Julie, actually signed up for 3 programs and bailed on all of them between day 57 and day 70. We should probably check in on her as today is day 65, but fear not. She followed through on the fall program. She crushed it. She's here in the winter group continuing her journey. She's got a really interesting story, of course, as do all of our incredible members. She is 53. She's married to her husband, Tim, for 26 years. She's the mother of a 21-year-old medically fragile daughter, Meredith, who was diagnosed with cerebral palsy short after birth. She requires 24-hour care. Julie also lives in a small town of Cobden in the Ottawa Valley. So we have so much to talk about. So let's not waste one more minute and let's introduce Julie. I love the photos of the drums, and you have a drum set right behind you.
Yes, I do.
Come on, that's amazing. You play?
Yeah, I started when I was 52. I wanted to when I was 16, and then I waited till I was 52, and now I play. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, you heard my little introduction. Let's talk about your daughter. It occurred to me that we just talked about burnout for the first time in this program where we had Cynthia Loyce join us. And, we've talked a lot about being stressed out. We've talked about anxiety, and then we also talk about burnout. And I would imagine that's a bit of your story in terms of being a caregiver, which is not an easy thing to do.
Yes. I have experienced burnout over the years.
Yeah.
I've teetered close to it. Often. I have found when I take too much on, when I think I can do more work than I'm able to,
Yeah.
combined with sleep deprivation and the stress of things that, occur with my daughter regularly, that I can recognize the early signs of it now. So I know I have to pull back. I'm always doing a dance. Yeah.
But what's interesting about you, and I read in your bio, is that you say, I'm no stranger to self care. And to be honest, I've been on a quest the last 2 decades to ensure self preservation. Early on, it became an obsession to eat well, exercise, take care of my mental health. I know that my daughter's well being depends on it. The intensity of this extreme caregiving can catch up to you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is like you're being very aware that you need to take care of yourself, but in a way it kind of backfires. Can we talk a little bit about that? Because self-care also a conversation that's somewhat new to us in terms of actively having the conversation in this group. Seems very timely, this group for you.
Yes. So much has resonated with me, this group. The thing for me with self-care is when we hear about self-care traditionally, it's always, like go for a walk and make sure you're getting sleep and that kind of thing. And I know for parents like me, that sometimes isn't an option, like sleep isn't an option. So for me, it becomes a matter of self-preservation, as far as I have to always be on high alert as to how I'm doing, how I'm feeling, but also aware that sometimes I don't have a choice to care for myself. I don't know if
Yeah.
that makes sense. I
Yes.
remember going to parent groups, and the social worker would say, you've got to make sure you're getting your sleep, and you've got to make, we'd all be sitting there like, well, if we don't have a night nurse, our child has to be cared for, so you have to step up.
Yeah. I mean, the reason why I want to give this backstory is because there are a lot of people who are either, if they're not taking care of their children, they are taking care of their parents. More and more people are stepping up and doing that. And it does take a toll. I want to read here. Your daughter's needs are incredibly complex. You rely on night nurses and caregivers to help us care for her at home. There are often last minute cancellations, sleepless nights, medical crisis, and a whole lot of stress. And yet you have adapted. I love that you say you like to think of our life with her as an adventure. Trying to reach any kind of goal, especially this type of goal and following the Livy method, it's not an easy thing to do. So, can we just talk about that? Do you have advice for other people where it's so easy to put your needs aside and take care of others or just not have anything left for yourself?
Well, I've been at this for 21 years, so I know that my needs have to come fairly close to my daughter's because if
Yeah.
I'm not well, the ship sinks very quickly. So I've always made myself a priority, along with her, of course. She's always my priority, but
Yeah.
I don't have a problem saying no to things. Eating well, trying not to drink a lot, don't stay up late. Like I've done things, I've had to sacrifice a lot so I can care for her and be healthy. You can do it the other way and get burnt out, but then you have to go through the process of getting well again, and hopefully learn from that. So I think I wasn't as good at this in the beginning as I am now.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about your experience with the Livy method. How did you hear about the program to begin with?
Well, a shout out to my older sister Lana, who I know is trying to listen while she's at work.
I love it.
Me about it in 2023. Uh, what year is it right now? 2024. Yeah, 2023. And she just said she was having great success, and she tried to explain it to me, and I was like, I'm not doing any diets. I'm not doing that again. I forget it. Um, but I did sign up. So, and I think I had pretty good success the first program. I bailed early, as you mentioned.
Yes.
Yeah, I bailed early, and then I moved into my second and third, and bailed early, but also didn't really get it and pay attention. There was a lot going on in my life at that point. So
Yeah, this has been so many people's story, and that's why I want to talk about this and normalize that, especially as people might be reflecting with where we're at in week 9 and like, oh, I wasn't showing up the way that I wanted to, or there are some people just hanging on. This is right around the time that you kind of made it to and then didn't follow through and finish. And I think we need to normalize that. I mean, heck, even Kim, who is the manager now of my weight loss program, I think she was very successful in her first program. I think losing something like 9 pounds in 3 weeks. I can't remember the number, and then didn't follow through and took her a few times. Why did you keep coming back?
well, because everything that you offer resonated with me. I went into my 50s very anti diet. I grew up in a home where diet started on Monday all the
Yeah,
time. I'm a product of the 80s, so
yeah,
all the things like, losing weight and being thin and jazzercise and exercise and leotards and all that stuff, pills and potions, all of that. And I think when I hit 50, the really strong feminist crone part of me, as I was, reaching menopause or getting to postmenopause, I was like, enough. I don't want to
yeah,
be 80 years old and still trying to lose like 10 pounds or not being happy with myself, you know?
yeah,
And it's not about needing to lose or not wanting to lose weight or lose the fat. It was more the mentality of the diet industry. So I just said, no, I'm not doing it anymore. So, and then, well, here we are. And you know what it is? It's the health part of it and the science part of it. That's what resonated with me because I hated. I remember doing one big program, starts with a W, once in my life, and lining up. Like I remember being like, we were like herded in the basement of a church and lining up, and then you get on the scale and be like, oh, you're up 2 pounds. But then the next week you'd be down 1 pound, and everybody would cheer, and it was just like,
yeah.
yeah. So I wasn't doing that anymore.
It seems crazy,
It's
right?
crazy.
Like,
Yeah,
and so that's probably why you spent your first program looking for faults.
I sure did. You said diet once, and I was like, see, I was very like, ah. I was like, this is a diet. Just watch. It's a diet. But no, it wasn't.
Well, what would
Sorry.
you call it? I mean, I don't
I
care if it's diet,
apologize.
lifestyle.
I apologize to you now in person. No, I was saying like it's like a method. It's a method. It's a lifestyle. It's a program. It is a lifestyle because we're not going to have an ending and then flail and be back to where we were.
Yeah.
That's the part I think that is so important, that you could do any of these programs, or eat grapefruit for 5 days and lose 10 pounds, but then what? It's always this, now what do I do? Now what do I do? So I think that's key as well, is the maintenance part of it.
Yeah. I can see Lana in the comments joining us live, by the way. She says she's so flipping proud of you.
Did you say flipping?
That's what she wrote.
Hey, Lana.
Okay, so so I want to talk about the summer of 2024. After my third program ended, I told my sister that I didn't think this program worked for everyone. Considering I barely showed up for my second and third program, she questioned the validity of this statement. After some gentle encouragement, I decided to commit one more round and no matter what, complete the 91 days. And I did. I showed up every day. I weighed myself, sometimes kicking and screaming, and listened to the check ins each morning. I engaged in the community, filled out every section of the app, set my intentions in the morning, and reflected at night. On the days I felt like wavering, I reminded myself, you committed to 91 days. That's non negotiable. Was it after the conversation with your sister that you were just like what clicked?
Well, I knew that, saying, not everybody, this isn't for everybody. I knew that was a bit of a lie. Like I was aware that that wasn't really true what I was saying. It was more of an excuse, I think, for my bailing early.
Yeah.
And she was right. She was right, because she was like, no, it really does, it works, and you can't say it doesn't work for everybody when you actually haven't done the full program.
Yeah.
And so I did do the 91 days, and I'll tell you, when I woke up on that 91st day, I could hear the angels singing. I was like, it was such a high to complete 91 days. I was so excited, and then I was like, I can't wait till the next one. And then I had to go through Christmas and the holidays and all of that, which was fine. I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't gain. I maintained. I had a nice Christmas. It was all great, and now I can't wait for the next one. So
First of all, I love that you're sharing. Like I said, we want to normalize. How did you get from that place of like trying and then stopping? And I'm sure there was very good reasons, the conversation with your sister, and then getting back. Because a lot of people feel, I think, just in dieting in general, two steps forward, one step back. They have a hard time following through and finishing for so many reasons. Did you like what can you like? What can you share with us that can help members that are kind of feeling the same?
well, I think you got to dig deep and find your inner rebel,
Mm.
because I mean, I'm a determined person by nature. So um, the thing that I know, because I've done it both ways, is this program works, and if you get to the 91 days, that feeling is fantastic, to know that
Yeah.
you showed up and you did it. I also know the feeling of bailing. I shouldn't say bailing, but kind of heading out the door around day 65 or day
Yeah.
70,
Yeah.
and just kind of saying, this doesn't work. There's no good feeling about that. Like, there's no like,
Mm.
well, I did okay, I almost got there. There's nothing. It's not a feeling. It's just like, I it just I just bailed. I bailed.
Yeah.
And the reality is, you will go back and sign up again, hopefully. So you might as well just stick it out. Like, if you get to day 65, like, man, you're so close. Like, just hang in there. And if you have to have one day where you just feel like you got to be a rebel and not eat the veggies at lunchtime, then just don't. Like, just get that through your system, and then get up the next day and keep going.
Yeah. It's a good feeling being at the end. I always say, regardless of what's going on the scale, you'll be so happy that you followed through and finished. And if you don't want to keep doing it, whatever. But what you're taking away is that sense of accomplishment, because
Yeah.
it's not an easy thing to do. I want to talk about your blood work. You say here, before starting the program, my blood work and clinical tests were great, right?
Yeah.
We're great. I hear this all the time. Some the other day, I was like, am I going to my doctor? They're telling me everything is great, but they probably don't feel great. But I felt terrible, right? Before starting this program, my blood work and clinical tests were great, but I felt terrible. I was exhausted, stressed, uncomfortable in my own body. Now I feel lighter and more like myself again. I was worried that when the fall 2024 program ended, I would go off track, but you didn't. Sailed through the holidays without feeling restricted and deprived. I finally feel free.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I do.
yeah.
And I don't feel rushed to lose the rest. Like I'm not feeling like, okay, I want to do this one more time and I want to lose the rest. Like I'm like, if it takes me another year to like unload the last 20 pounds of fat on my body, then so be it. There's so much more to this than just the weight, you know? It's not I think the more programs you do, the more the information sinks in. I mean, it's a full time job to try to keep up and listen to everything and get everything and absorb everything.
Yeah.
So each program, like this program, was the first time I really nailed the feeding your metabolism, because I think in the fall, like I would do like I might do a couple of meals, but I do the snacks. Like it was all over the place. And this time I just did it, full on, and it wasn't hard, and it was yeah. I'm seeing the results now, and I'm also learning the pattern of my weight. Like I plateau, and then I'll drop 2 ounces, and then I plateau, and then I drop a pound and a half. Like, and I'm seeing this now repeatedly. So now I'm seeing a pattern, and that's kind of cool too.
So you have been successful losing weight. So what's your secret sauce to that? Like, are you working? Did you start working out? You just started being more consistent. Yeah, like obviously the follow through it helps, but you've got pretty far in the program before. What's different this time?
Well, throughout my life, my weight gain has been very situational and stress related. So I really appreciated the conversations about cortisol and all the hormones and that kind of thing, because it feels like you just cannot lose it. Um, my we had a significant trauma that happened in 2022, and I like to think of this weight that I'm carrying now is my trauma weight, and I feel like it's in place because one of the ways I coped with what was happening was, well, I wasn't doing a whole lot of overeating, but I think my body was hanging on to everything because of the stress I was under. So I call it like my trauma weight, and I feel like it has separation anxiety. And I think if there's an emotional component to your weight, that it's not just a matter of like, measuring and what goes in and what goes out and all of that. There has to be that deeper work that needs to happen. And I went into the new year with the determination that I was leaving that in 2024, and
Yeah.
I was gonna find my way back to my health and my vitality, and I wasn't going to have my life burdened by this thing that had happened. So yeah. So,
Yeah, your
and I
hormones are
think,
healing.
yeah, I think a lot of caregivers are dealing with, a lot of stress, a lot of stress. We deal with a lot of stress, and we can adapt, but sometimes the stress gets bigger than what we're able to cope with. So,
And it takes a while. It takes a while for your
yeah,
body to recover. So
absolutely.
you are a grief counselor and a death
I am.
doula and a death
Yes.
educator. I find this really interesting. I don't know if you listened to my conversation with Dr. Paul
I
this
did.
morning when I
I
was
was just
sharing.
this afternoon. I listened to it while I was out shoveling the ice off my deck.
And
Yeah.
for those of you who missed it, I was talking about how in his anyway, he was passing and he was in great amount of pain and he was asking for assistance to help move him on. Unfortunately, because it was a weekend and he was in the hospital, there was COVID and it wasn't a possibility. But he just needed to go and he wanted to go. And he's always been like this very intuitive, kind of big on energy and all of that. And I'm like, well, why don't you just go? What is your problem? Like, you're all pissed off because you're still here, but like, you're the one who gets to decide if you go. And so I talked to the person from palliative care came in and I'm like, I don't know what his problem is. Like, and I'm like, he's just so stubborn. And it's like he's hanging on and he's fighting. And she said to me, people, in my experience, at the end of life pass the way they lived, what was he like in life? I said, well, he was always in and out of hospitals, always fighting, always like confrontational, always struggling. It's like he liked the struggle and then overcoming it. And she's like, how's he being now? And I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it really shook me, and I was like, how do I, like, usually people go out the way that they are functioning in life. How do I function in life? That was big for me. I mean, this is what you do.
Hmm. I know it's a heavy line of work with my life, but it's
Yeah.
that's where I landed, and I do love it. Yeah, and your hospice nurse was right on the money. When I heard that when I was listening this afternoon, I was like, oh yes, it's so true. It is so true. Yeah,
You say here, I'm a firm believer that thinking about our mortality is one of the greatest exercises in motivating us to live our best lives. Being as healthy as possible is a great way to do that. I think sometimes we get in our head that life is short, so I might as well. Life is short, so who the fuck cares? Life is short, so I might as well eat the thing. Life is short, so why bother?
yeah. Well,
You know, can you help us through this?
I can. I think we live in a culture that denies death, and so we tend to sugarcoat it with, well, you only live once, that kind of thing, or um, well, we could just walk out of the house and get hit by a bus, but we actually don't really
Yeah.
think we're going to get hit by a bus.
Yeah.
So the first thing is, I think people are very much fearful and in denial about the fact that they're going to die, and so they can use that in a negative way, as far like you said, like just making excuses not to be well and healthy because you only live once. The thing is, you do only live once, so keep yourself well and moving your body so that you're able to enjoy life as you age. Yeah, if you get the opportunity to age.
If you get the
That's
opportunity,
that's that's yeah, that's a
it
privilege.
truly is. If a lot of people, I'm sure you've noticed in joining us for so many groups, people are dealing with grief, people passing away, and yet I always have mad respect for people who continue to show up. For some, it can be a lifeline to continue to focus on themselves. It's so, and there's so many instances where trying to lose weight seems so trivial in comparison to what they're dealing with or what they're going through. And do you have any advice for our members, especially when it comes to dealing with grief? You
Well,
are now our new guest expert, by the way.
I was
So
going to say, when you're dealing with grief, one of the things that you can do for yourself when you're feeling so blindsided and out of control, because I think most people are shocked by the intensity of grief, which is why
yeah,
I have a job, because people come to me to say, I feel like I'm going crazy. That's usually what I hear.
yeah,
Um, so nourishing yourself with food that has good nutrition, not eating a pile of sugar like you want to, um, and trying to rest, even if you're not getting a full night of sleep. Resting, getting outside for a walk, and having fresh air. Those are the foundational things that will help people to cope with their grief.
yeah.
So following all of the things that the Livy method is, actually are the things that I recommend to people when they come to me in those early days, and they haven't eaten, they can't sleep, they're full of anxiety. I might say, go to the store and buy some of those pre-made, homemade soups, and start with that, and drink water. You got to replenish your tears. You have to replenish your tears. So that's what I would say to people who are grieving. It's okay to take a couple of days off from the Livy method. Like, you also have to be realistic, you know, and not beat yourself up too much, of course. Uh, just know, though, that the things that we're doing here are things that will help you in your bereavement.
And I think seeking out a grief counselor like yourself, so that was suggested for me, and of course, like, I'm prioritizing my kids first, and I realized that there was a lot of, connections, even though he was my ex. It was very complicated, my grieving. There was, I was there in the last day. So there was a bit of trauma that happened, things I wish I would have said, things I wish I would have done. There's a lot of regret. And I would imagine people feel the same. And talking to a grief counselor was a game changer, the way that they were able to sort of reframe how I was feeling. I think it can be a game changer. I don't know if you have a business card or you want to share with us, but I think that's something that a lot of people don't think about. They just deal with it on their own, be sad and cry. When honestly, it can be a game changer for people.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, uh, I mean, people can find me on anywhere. I'm at ready or not,
Okay.
EOL.com. So it's ready or
Okay.
not, endoflife.com.
Yeah.
And grief counseling isn't to fix grief. That's people, I think, don't want to go to a grief counselor because they're afraid someone's going to minimize and invalidate the depth
Yeah.
of their sorrow and their loss. And if
Yeah.
we can, meet people where they are and just help them to build their muscles in carrying grief. It's not about fixing it or getting rid of it. It's about learning how to carry it because, as you know, it never goes away. It's not
Yeah.
supposed to go away. And yes, when the grief of an ex is definitely considered a complication in grief
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah, yeah.
I remember I was talking about feeling guilty that I didn't do this, guilty that I didn't do that. She's like, "Is it guilt or is it regret?" And I said, "It's regret." She's like, "A regret you can deal with. You can feel regretful. There's nothing wrong with that. You didn't intend to do it this way. Maybe you wish you would have done it that way." Okay, definitely reach out to Julie. I do want to. I'm supposed to ask you about the tree climbing story.
Well, Kim and Shilan. I was talking about, just in our meeting a few weeks ago, just finding just feeling vibrant again. And I was out walking on my trail and I went off trail down into the woods. And there's a tree that I passed it's like a pine tree, but it's got really fat branches going out all over the place. And I always walk by and I'm like, that is a perfect climbing tree. And for whatever reason, on this particular day, I decided to climb it. And I had on like my hiking boots and my coat and everything, winter. So I get up this tree and when I look down, I feel like I'm really high up, but I was probably about 6 feet off the ground. And I'm standing there. And then all of a sudden I'm like, how did I get up here? But how do I get down from here? Because I'm not 12 and I haven't climbed a tree in like 40 years. So as I'm pondering this, I hear somebody coming down the trail and there's this woman coming with her dog. And now I'm like, I'm going to scare her because I'm up in the tree. But I also look like a weirdo because I'm just standing up in the tree. Like I'm not nestled in the branches reading a book. I'm just standing up in the tree. So I go, hello. She scares her. And I'm like, it's just me. I'm just up here in the tree. And so she walks over and she looks up and she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I just thought I'd climb this tree today. Anyway, I got out of the tree. She stood there waiting to help me. She was worried. Anyway, when I got down, she was talking to me like I was maybe having some sort of break, like a psychotic break, maybe. Because she was like, okay, yeah, you can do it. And when I get down, she's very like, so did you enjoy that? Like speaking to me like that. And anyway, I was just like, I'm,
Fair.
yeah,
That's
we're
fair.
good. Yeah, but I am going to climb that tree again when I'm wearing leggings and a t-shirt and running shoes. So
Well,
that's
I
the story.
I was hoping she was gonna join you. She'd like, "Hey, move over. I'm on my way up."
No, she was a little nervous. She wasn't sure what was happening and why is this woman standing up in the tree? I can't believe I just shared that. Uh, anyway,
I love the visual. I can almost feel how you felt, like, climbing up and being like, "Wow," like, you're probably just standing up there, like, taking it all in, like, "Okay."
it was so awesome. Like it gave me that feeling like, yeah, I'm back.
Yeah.
But I think I'm gonna climb it and figure out how to get down and then climb a little higher. Like I'm gonna figure out the path
Yeah.
and I'm gonna
Yeah.
go up really high this summer. That's my goal. My husband's like, can you attach something so you don't fall out of the tree and break your leg or something? That would be good. So yeah, I have to
Living
remember
on
to
the
like
edge.
my age and yeah.
No, no, you don't. You know you don't. Climb that tree. Climb that tree.
I'm not true.
Julie, thank you so much. I
My
got
pleasure.
it's always a conversation you didn't know you needed, and I'm so grateful that you took the time with us today. So where are you now in your journey? What's next for you?
Uh, with this journey,
Yeah,
I'm carrying on. I'm excited to see where I am on April the 6th, and then April the 7th, I have my birthday, which I love, and then
right.
2 weeks later, I'm starting all over again with the next program. Yeah, I'm kind of hoping it comes off slowly because I love listening to everything and the videos and the interactions. So I think there should be maybe a grief support group for the people who leave, like the maintenance group.
Well, I'm working on it. I'm working on like a third group or someplace because people connect with the community, and I think that's really special. It's like a tried and true community, right? And I think there got to be a place for us to go, but then talk about other things in our life that
Yeah,
elevate our life. When weight loss, when you're no longer losing weight and you're no longer maintaining your weight and you're just living your life. So I'm thinking I'm trying to think of like where's that space where we're all going to go, and I think there's so much room to talk about so many things
yeah,
in
yeah,
there. Yeah, that's why I
yeah.
got to
Because
trying to get
I
everyone
mean,
there.
we need community so greatly, and people are lonely. And I think for some people, part of their success is the social part of this, and
Yeah.
the connection that you have with all of the thousands of people that are staring at you in the mornings.
Yeah. Well, I'm the facilitator of the community, and I think the community creates itself by people like you taking time and sharing, and people asking questions, and people in the comments. I think that's what really people feel being vulnerable and sharing that. I think creates an open dialogue, and when you create a nice safe space for people, I'm really probably this is the most thing I'm most proud of is the community that we've been able to facilitate here.
Yeah, it's always kind and safe and calm, and that's so important.
Yeah, and if you're not, I did kick your ass out. So get.
Exactly. Exactly. I like that about you. And I
Well,
love your F bombs too. I just want to tell you that.
I
I'm
can't
a
help it.
I'm
They
a
say
bit of an
people who
F
swear a
bomb.
lot are honest people, so we do the best we can. Thank you for being you. I adore you. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having
Hi, Lana. Is it Lana or Lana?
me. Lana.
Lana. Hi, Lana. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Please follow up with me. Let us know how you make out, where you're at. Let me know about the tree. I want to.
I will take a photo from the tree. Okay.
Thanks,
Take
Julie.
care.
I appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Oh my goodness. Can I just say, talking to our members, it's the best. I say this every time that it's one thing to hear from me, it's others to hear from, real people, but it's just every time I walk away from our conversations with our members, it honestly just makes my whole day, and it makes me remember the mission. The mission at the end of the day is to help share knowledge, help share resources, help empower people to make change in their lives, because at the end of the day I'm not taking responsibility for anything that anyone's accomplishing, because it truly is on them. And some people, they're dealing with a lot. When I was reading Julie's story, I was like, wow, this is a lot. And then, I hope that you're inspired by her and her story and her grit and her tenacity and her passion to keep going and her awareness and just all of it, and her balls to climb that tree.